In today's market review, we're going to look at the apartment condo market. We're talking about low-rise and high-rise apartment condominiums downtown and all around the city.
To help make our stats a little bit more relevant to you, I'm going to divide up the city into different quadrants. We're going to do the inner city, the northwest section, the southwest, and what we're talking is west of Sarcee, because we would consider anything east of Sarcee to be inner city. The deep south, which would be Fish Creek, Chaparral, Mahogany, all of these south areas. And lastly, we'll do the northeast. At the end of the video, we'll go over the whole market so you can compare how your numbers match up with the overall. Now in the inner city, we had 272 sold apartment condos for the month of June, and the average sale price was actually $412,000, and the average price per square foot was $429. But where most buyers were buying condos was right around $329 and a $408 a square foot price, and they were 839 square feet. Now if we look at how that compares to May, we actually sold more in May, and those were priced at $335 on the median price, which was a little bit more actually, and the sales price per square foot was a little bit less than in June. And on average they were 33 or a little more than a month on the market. Now if you kind of compare that to last year 217, so definitely more sales in 2013 for June than last year. Now we look at how that compares to inventory supply. You know, we got over 2 months supply, so we got a good amount of inventory available for buyers, and at the sales price per square foot of $429, buyers were really looking for properties listed between $335 and $419, but what's left on the market is $379 and to $493 on the average price. And when we look at the price per square foot, you know, buyers were looking at homes and making offers on homes that were priced at about $418 a square foot to $436, and these prices are the ones that are currently on the market are significantly higher. So that means that what's left on the market is a little bit more expensive, and it looks to me like it's also a little bit bigger as well, but not much. So now we'll move on to the northwest section. Now in the northwest, we had 66 sold listings in the month of June, and they were priced at $314 a square foot on average, and where most buyers were buying was $309. The average sales price was $271 on average, but where most people were buying was $270. Now we want to look at what was available, what sold in May. 52 sold listings in May, so definitely up for June, and those were priced a little bit less per square foot. So the buyers bought for more money per square foot in June than they did in May. And when we look at how that was for last year, what's interesting is that 52 sold listings in June of last year, and those were priced at $284 a square foot on average, and the median where most buyers were $282 a square foot, and people were looking for homes at, you know, an average price. They were looking for homes at $254. Now they're looking at $272 this year on their pricing. Now if we look at how many homes are available, 111 listings, condos available right now, and 66 sold last month. So you know, looks like there's like a third more than sold last month, which is okay for buyers. That's reasonably good for buyers and sellers. And these are priced right, you know, close to the median price on these active listings of $318 a square foot, and they're about the same size. So it looks like they're priced reasonable for the buyers to make offers. And when we look at the list price, $274 is the current median price, and last month it was $272. So the pricing on properties for condos is pretty conservative. People are pricing their properties pretty reasonably. Now we're going to move to the southwest section. We're talking west of Sarcee, Aspen, these areas, Signal Hill, and so forth. Now in the southwest, west of Sarcee, we have 26 sold listings in the month of June, and they were asking $329, and they were selling for $324.88, and the sales price per square foot was $318. Now when we look at last month, we can see that last month the sales price per square foot was actually higher on the average, but it was actually lower in the median for last month. So it's interesting where most buyers were purchasing. The heavy weight of the buyers is on the median, which is 325, which was up a little bit. And they also, on the sales price, they actually were 326,000, and last month was 316. Those properties last month were slightly smaller though, and so the list prices of these properties for June was 334. Now let's compare that to last year. Last year, buyers were looking to buy for somewhere between 319 and 314. The average was actually lower than the median, which is kind of strange, where the heavy weight of buyers was around 319, very close to what it was last year, and this year are very close. And 283 square foot. So we're looking at the buyers last year were actually getting about 100 square foot more in their condos than they are this year, and they're paying more per square foot for that property, that condo. Now, if we look at what our inventory looks like now, 26 listings sold last month and 60 available. So there's more than 2 months supply. So there's a lot of listings for buyers to look at. And when we look at where the buyers were looking at properties, they were looking at properties that were priced at 324, between 330 and 324 square foot. And the interesting thing is that what we've got on the market is priced between 336 and 334, which is slightly above where the buyers are really looking. And the properties are not bigger, the ones that are left in the market. So these ones are just asking more money. And when we look at the apartment condos, we see that the list price is 333, not so far above where they were before, but the price per square foot, on average, I guess they're a little bit smaller. And now we'll move to the Deep South. Evergreen, Silverado, Cranston, Mackenzie Town, all these south areas. Moving on to the Deep South, 61 sold listings in the month of June. They were priced at 300, actually asking 306 a square foot, and they sold for 300 on average, but the median where most buyers were buying was 294. Now, the sales price was between 253 and 264, where the median where most of the buyers was 253. Now, when we look at how that compared to last month, 78 sold listings in May for the Deep South, which means that sales are a little bit down, and the prices are actually up a little bit. Average sale prices are up, but the price per square foot is actually down. So people getting less money for their properties on average in June as they did in May. So we sold more properties in May. We sold them faster. Looks like 40 days for June and 29 days for May. So market slowing down a little bit in the Deep South for condos. Now we look at last year, we see that days on market was 42, much longer, and people were buying condos around between 277 square foot and 283, very far off what they are this year. So the market's definitely up compared to last year. And the buyers were buying last year at 233 for the most part, and this year they're buying for 259. The sizes are very similar on the condos. Now we look at the inventory supply. July inventory 112 active listings and 61 sales. So we got more than 2 months supply of properties. These properties are priced at 332 a square foot on average, and for the most part, where the heavy weight of them is 325, which is well above where the buyers were looking at 306 a square foot, or even between 301 and 306. So, and the condos that are left on the market are all slightly smaller, but not significantly, and where they're asking another 18,000. In this particular, the median is right on the money here for the average list price. So the median price, it's interesting how these numbers go together, but it shouldn't go together quite like this, but it seems to. So 325.80 was your list price, and the actual list price per sale price per square foot 240, 295, around that number. So the sellers are certainly asking more money now for properties, and with 2 months supply, some people probably need to adjust their figures a little bit. And next we'll look at the northeast section of the city. Now looking at the northeast, 31 sold listings in the month of June, and they were priced at asking 221,000, and they were getting 214. at $282 a square foot on average, but the median was $282. The median was $229 on the list price. So people going after the little bit more expensive properties in this market for the median market. That's kind of interesting. Now, when we look at May sales, very similar, 32 sales opposed to 31. Actually, one more sale. Nothing to speak about really. But the square footage price up in June from May at 271. So sellers asking more money and getting it in the month of June. And when we look at what happened last year, our prices per square foot were much less, 238 as opposed to 282. That's a significant increase. The average was 17 sold listings last year. So wow, they've had a really good appreciation for the last year compared to June of 2013. Now, when we look at sold listings, 31 sold listings in the active inventory that's available, 72 over 2 months supply of inventory, and that's priced very close to where it was selling at. So it looks like our list price was $291, and our list price currently is $285 on average per square foot. And they're asking, so these condos are slightly bigger than what sold. That's why we see that the list prices that they were asking was $220. Well, it's pretty much on par. So as far as that's concerned, sellers not really being unreasonable with their asking prices up there, and I guess it's due to the fact there's so many listings on the market, and what we don't have is days on market here, which would be nice, but that would probably tell us that some of these properties are having a little trouble, so they're maybe adjusting a little bit. So certainly in the Northeast, it's still more like a buyer's market for condos up there, even though the prices increased over last year. Now, when we look at this from an overall city point of view, you can see that where we have got heavily weighted inventory. Now, of course, 3 sales for all of Calgary for a condo and below 150 and 6 available. That's always going to be a low market, and it's low to get a stat from. But you can see here that really, when I look at a balanced market, I think of 2/3 more active listings than sold last month, and the dark bar represents what sold last month, and this is what the light is currently what's available. So it's pretty good market for condos overall, especially in the 300 to 350 group. That seems to be our tightest group here. And as we go up, even though these bars are quite a bit lower, the ratios are quite out of whack. Like we've got 2 times more available between 500 and 550, and we've got 2 times more available between 600 and 650. And then we get to the higher end group of things like over a million, 1.5 million. We had 6 sales in the month of June, which is actually pretty good for high-end condos, and just 23 active listings. So there's a lot more available than currently are selling each month. And of course, we got onesies and twosies above the 750 mark. We really don't have a lot. 18 available from 750, 800, and only 1 sold last month. So it's pretty slim.
Realize that the market news I've just given you is based on the whole market. There's a whole other study we can do on the area that you're looking to buy or sell in. Your area may not move according to the whole market, and realize that average sale prices don't mean that a specific home would go up that percentage based on the whole market. Average sale prices sometimes mean that people are buying more expensive homes. Back when I started selling real estate, over 90% of the homes I sold were expired listings or homes that other agents couldn't sell. During that time, I learned from my clients the many frustrations that they had selling their homes.
Yeah, we had the home about, twice with some other agencies, and they couldn't sell the house. We don't know why. It's a beautiful house.
There was not any interest shown at all in our home by anybody that came and viewed it.
Too many of the other MLS realtors who'd come and show the house, they wouldn't have a clue.
We didn't get any feedback on our showing.
Last time our house was in the market about 3 months, and we've never got any offers.
It's for these reasons I have a very detailed approach on the way I sell my clients' homes. But here's what my clients had to say.
So we tried to put our townhouse up for sale October of last year, and it just wasn't selling, you could say. We had some show homes in the beginning of October, and a lot of people came, but no one really made a really decent offer, and we weren't getting any feedback. after the last 2 months, November and December, we had no showings, no one was coming, and we weren't really hearing from our real estate agent anymore. So come January, a friend of the family told us about Trent and how, that he had helped them sell their house, and
Don't forget how we got that in the mail.
and how we got in the mail a pamphlet that said, guaranteed, we can sell your home. In which case, we both decided we'd call Trent.
And give Trent a call. And Trent came in the very first day that he came to see us, and he said, well, let's look at the market. Let's see where we're sitting at in the market, and let's make a plan of how we're going to put this up so that it's more appealing than everything else in the market, in that kind of zone that people are looking for houses, in that price range, in that category, being a townhouse. And basically what ended up happening was, as soon as the house went up, exactly what we had predicted with Trent was going to happen, happened. And in a very, very short period of time,
I think it was like one day.
I think it was one day.
Yeah.
We had an offer the first day and took it. Trent gave us extremely knowledgeable advice on how to deal with the initial lower offer, and it resulted in us maintaining a lot more of our value in our house.
One of the things that I noticed was really nice about how our house sold was that there was a video that was taken for YouTube, and when we went to go see it, we fell in love with our home again, not to lie. It just, it put our home in a light where you wanted to live in it. It talked about, the great things that we loved about our home when we first walked in. Just 2 blocks down, there's another house for sale that didn't have that quality of videoing, and it didn't show the aspects of the home which we fell in love with, which we found that other people did. And watching the video, you realize that we boosted so much more of our traffic coming into the house. People who were looking at it, they already were interested before they even showed up. And right away, just from the first day, we had 3 or 4 people walk through that all wanted to make offers. And assuming if we wanted to stay on the market longer, we could have easily sold the house 5-6 times over.
Well, I think what the commercial does versus just having an MLS listing with pictures and then someone has to call and then come and see it is it takes the same thing that companies do, but he does it for you on an individual basis. Companies, when they want to sell something, you see it on the commercial while you're watching the NHL playoffs or something, and you go, this is awesome, I want it. And that's exactly what his commercial does. You see it and boom, you want it.
We had our home listed for 4 months in the fall, and it just didn't sell. We had a little interest at first, but then it just died down. After the new year, we got some information in the mail from Trent, and he was able to show us the advantages of video marketing, and he showed off our home to its best advantage. It's not a show home, it's not a new home, but it's a comfortable home. And he was able to show that and get that information out to lots of people. And we had so many showings. We had 1 or 2 showings a day. Some days we had so many showings we weren't even able to come home for meals. There was that much interest in our home. Another thing Trent was able to show us was that the market was actually good in November when we had our home listed before, and that was when there was no interest shown in ours. And there were homes selling in this neighborhood for actually less than what we got for ours just this past week. We sold it in about 4 weeks with Trent, and we're really excited to be, we got a price that we're happy with, and moving on.
This is just 2 examples, but in 13 years of marketing homes, I've got hundreds of examples of turnaround situations. High and low-end homes, fixer-uppers, show homes. I've marketed a home just like yours. So call me today for a low-pressure interview to discuss the sale of your home.